Og så sagde Mohammed bare, lort. Det var irriterende det der. Ja, så kan han selv få lov at være. Well, I'm the technology evangelist here at Asetek, which means that I basically tinker with a lot of different things, as you probably can see on my desk. I do product development. I help our end users, so I help on Reddit and stuff. Privately, I've always been a gamer and an enthusiast. I love taking PCs apart and building new PCs, so that's just, I mean, I just found my ideal job here. I get to do my hobby every day. Obviously, there's a lot of different stuff as well. But basically, I get to play around, do games, do streaming, come up with new ideas for products, so what could be super cool for any gamer or enthusiast out there in the world. I try my best to actually communicate as much as possible with our end users to help us understand what would be a super cool product. The first one that we did was actually a tiny little cooler, a small form factor cooler. Don't even know if I have it here. I might. There we go. Which is this tiny little cooler, 92 millimeters, and it fits perfectly within these super small form factor builds, which are very popular lately. And we made it fit so that it takes up the least amount of space in any case, basically. That was the first thing I did here. And yeah, pretty funny because no one else is doing something like this. We also do, for instance, stuff with Linus Tech Tips. So we have done a custom cap for them with RGB for their Linus Tech Tips Expo in 2020. If it happens, let's see. There's a bit of a thing going on in the world right now. We did this to basically help them do super awesome giveaways. So we sent them a bunch of coolers with these custom caps. Behind me here is an example of how some of the hardware that we get sent from guys like Intel and AMD, EVGA I think is here as well. Pretty well represented, one of our customers. Basically what I do is I tinker a lot. So I play around with very expensive hardware and try to make new, interesting solutions for the average consumer. So some of that could be, for instance, when we look at new platforms such as the Intel platform over here, which is their overclockable Xeons, where we actually worked with Intel to do a custom liquid cooling solution for it. And then EVGA was nice enough to supply us with an absolute extremely crazy motherboard that we tinker around with. It actually has liquid cooling on the VRM, which is basically unheard of. We do weird modifications to existing products, such as painting them orange for absolutely no reason whatsoever, except to try to see what can we actually, how can we innovate on our products and make them different. This obviously is a failed experiment. So an example of hardware that we should probably treat in another way is we have a motherboard here, which is right now in storage because we're making a new streaming studio. Some of the stuff that we do is directly hardware related. We talk about news. What do we do else? We do unboxings, new AMD chips, for instance. So we get samples before most others, and that's obviously super, super awesome. Well, you're not allowed to tell anyone about it, but it's still super fun. Well, we do experiment with other weird things, such as mouse pads for basically anti-static surfaces when we work with this stuff. It's supposed to be very important, but at the same time, as you can see, we're standing on a carpet. So that's obviously not ideal, and we know that. So we actually got the EVGA Kingpin card, which we made liquid cooling for as well. Simply just to mount it, well, in the back side of the case. So instead of doing what everyone else does, this case supports two power supplies. It isn't really needed. So what we decided to do is make a new bracket for it so we can actually put our GPU where the power supply is supposed to be. And that's going to fit something like, I think we decided on something like this with the GPU on top of it. As you can see, we've prepped the PCI Express extender here. And also, here's the GPU lying around on the table. This super expensive GPU, which is, well, barely unpacked at this point in time. And we're doing custom sleeved cables for the build as well, of course, with our own colors and stuff. So that's going to be really exciting once I get the office done, so it doesn't have to be out here in this pile of, well, hardware. We want to show you behind the scenes, how do we do our streaming? How do we do weird experiments? How do we basically make the things that happen here at Asetek? Both our data center stuff, which is super awesome and very green, and obviously, which is my personal favorite, the gaming part. So how do we get RGB and crazy effects and better performance for all the enthusiasts and gamers around the world?